Welcome to tonight's webinar. My name is Mel McKinney, Programs Coordinator for CAN-Do Multiple Sclerosis. Thank you for acting on the belief that you're more than your MS by attending tonight's webinar, In the Kitchen with MS. And our presenters will be Denise Nowak, Registered Dietitian, and Ann Mullenix, Occupational Therapist. CAN-Do MS is an innovative provider of lifestyle empowerment programs for people living with MS and their support partners. We are the start of a whole new way of thinking about and living with MS. CAN-Do MS empowers people to move beyond their MS by giving them the knowledge, skills, tools, and confidence to adopt healthy lifestyle behaviors, actively co-manage their disease, and live their best lives. In 2010, CAN-Do MS launched its new website, mscando.org, and please visit our website where you can register for upcoming webinars and also view our archived webinars. Check out our CAN-Do MS Lifestyle Empowerment programs, including our CAN-Do 4-day programs, Jumpstart and Jumpstart in Motion 1-day programs. You can share your CAN-Do promise, and you can also learn ways you can contribute to or get involved with CAN-Do MS. And a few items before we get started. Questions and comments will be addressed at the end of the presentation, and we'll answer as many questions as time allows. You can post your question by typing in the chat feature, which is located on the left of your computer screen. To submit your question, please type in the small box that says Chat with Presenters. And you can listen to the live webinar through your computer speakers rather than having to call in. This presentation will be recorded and we'll archive it on CAN-Do MS's website. You're more than welcome to view the presentation again. All of our webinars are archived on our website, and you can also view the webinar schedule and register for any interesting upcoming webinars. And those of you who are attending live tonight, you'll receive an email with copies of the PowerPoint presentation. So please submit your questions and comments in the chat box. And if you don't mind completing the evaluation at the end of the webinar, we value everyone's feedback. We have two wonderful speakers with us for tonight's webinar. Denise is a nutritionist and a certified fitness instructor, and she has focused her work on those living with MS for over 13 years. She is Executive Vice President of Chapter Programs for the Southern California chapter of the National MS Society. Denise is also the author of Food for Thought and is a contributing author for the Healthy Living section of Momentum Magazine. And Ann is an occupational therapist who has been on the CAN-Do staff for 18 years. She became involved when working with the fellow program staff member, Dr. Randy Shapiro, whom some of you might remember from last month's webinar on emerging therapies. And Ann has over 20 years' experience working in a neurological rehabilitation and is currently working with adult outpatients at Park Nicollet Methodist Hospital in Minneapolis. So before we get started, we have a quick polling question here just to see who's on the call with us. And if you don't mind answering, my goodness, we have overwhelming people living with MS, some support partners, healthcare professionals, and others. So that's a great mix there. So I will now turn over the slide deck and this evening's presentation to Denise Nowak.
Thanks so much, Melanie. We're really glad to have you on the call tonight, and I think Ann and I have a wealth of information to share with each of you. I think that while we don't have time to go in-depth into special diets and special nutrition practices, today's evening is really going to focus on looking at what gets in the way of eating well and really trying to identify strategies that make food preparation, cooking, and cleanup easy, and really to also look at strategies that can easily integrate healthy eating into everyday living. So our first question for you today is really, what gets in the way of eating well? So if you can give us an idea of what challenges you around eating well, hopefully we'll be able to best address the issues. Oh, I'm seeing some real common answers coming up here. And you can answer more than one as well. Got to give it a couple more seconds here. Well, it's truly no surprise, really, that fatigue seems to be one of the biggest issues. And I think the real challenge with fatigue is, yes, there's MS-related fatigue, and it really gets in the way especially around meal preparation. That's what I hear from people a lot. And one of the things that happens when people are fatigued is they don't eat well, they grab whatever's at their fingertips, they just run out of energy by the end of the day, and may actually skip meals. And unfortunately, when fatigue is an issue, there is a secondary contributor to fatigue, and that's an inadequate diet. You're not getting the calories and the nutrition that your body needs to fuel your body. So it's sort of a vicious circle. If you're tired and you don't eat, or you eat poorly, then you're actually contributing to that fatigue. There's some other aspects of fatigue, and I think Anne's going to touch on those.
Yes, hello everyone. And though fatigue is usually the overarching obstacle, as Denise just mentioned, other challenges may exist and limit your desire and time to prepare meals, such as physical challenges, having muscle weakness, hand tremors, numbness or changes in sensation, which prevent you from feeling and the items or being concerned about safety or using the stove perhaps. Balance is often an obstacle in the kitchen, moving around. Your balance is poor, it takes more energy and strength, and again, you can be in that one vicious cycle again of fatigue as well as having physical challenges. Cognitive challenges, and I saw on that polling question that people are mentioning they're having a difficult time with their organization, memory, attention, concentration. That's real common. And the other area, too, I work a lot with are visual changes or challenges. Blurry vision or low vision, visual pain, or contrast sensitivity issues, which is the difficulty distinguishing objects from another. So when you look at this slide and you see these challenges before you as well as fatigue, try to think about really what is your main obstacle and focus on that one specifically as we now go forth in the webinar, because your goal tonight is to help find solutions to overcome these obstacles and increase your independence in the kitchen. Now, some of you may feel, I have it all, so that can bring about some overwhelming feelings. But just take it small doses at a time here and have a goal of finding maybe one solution or strategy for each of these.
So definitely, as I mentioned before, food is your fuel, and it really is what keeps your energy going. And so some of the things we're going to look at this evening is what can you do? And part of it is to have a plan, to stock up for success. We're going to look at ways to make meals quick and easy, and when all else fails, the best thing you could be is a savvy snacker.
And an effort to take control over areas of these challenges and be able to make meals easily, Denise and I use strategies that we title the 4 Ps, which are tangible, practical ideas that include planning or organization, knowing your purchasing power, how to pace yourself and stretch energy levels, and how to, quote, pack it up, or meaning stretching your efforts into more than one healthy meal. So let's talk more about these strategies. The first area I just mentioned was planning ahead. Sketch out your game plan. Some of the ideas I'm going to be talking about feel a little concrete, and you may say, well, I do that, or I know how to do that. But I tell you, there's no magic bullet to saving energy or fighting some of the other challenges. But if you take some simple, real practical ideas and put them into place, you're going to find change is going to occur. So create a menu for each night helps you also keep accountability. I tell people set aside a half an hour before you go shopping and look at your calendar for the coming week. If you know you're going to be dining out or you're not going to feel like cooking or it's just you're giving yourself a break, put an X to that day and focus on the days that you'll be eating at home. Plan your meals very specifically and make them simple. 5 ingredients or less. And Denise will be talking to you more about creating great recipes with very minimal ingredients. But write what you are planning to have on the calendar. Again, it helps you stay organized, and it helps you stay accountable to yourself. If you're using a recipe, mark your cookbook, pull out the recipe cards, turn off the internet, and place the recipes perhaps in a file that you have in a very convenient location right there in your kitchen so you know, okay, Monday, this is what I'm going to do. Again, these are strategies that help with cognitive challenges, keeping you organized, keeping you focused, helping you remember what you're planning to do, as well as saving energy and keeping yourself accountable. I want to make a little plug here for a technology. Use technology. Obviously, you all are, or you wouldn't be here with us tonight. Whether you have a PC or a Mac, all systems have capabilities built into them that help with problems such as low vision, incoordination, difficulty with typing, difficulty with memory. You have it right there for you. Take advantage of what it is, and you can find this usually in the settings section of your computer. And some ideas of what I'm talking about are, number one, zooming. You can magnify the screen, enlarge the print. You can change the contrast from black on white to white on black if it helps you see better. You can increase the font size, change the cursor size, adjust the keyboard rate to slow it down. So there's a lot of things that can be done. And on the other hand, if you have, for instance, a smartphone or an iPad, apps. There are great apps out there. And a few, just for example, there's one called the Ultimate Recipe Search. And what's neat about this is not only that you have recipes right there on hand for you, but you also can put in the ingredients you have at home, say 3 ingredients, and it will give you recipes that you can make with those using those ingredients. Another app is called Prismo, and that is an app that helps a lot with low vision. If you're having difficulty in the store or even looking up recipes, you can take a picture. It scans the information it read, and it will read it aloud back to you. Another built-in app for these phones are called Remind Me. You can place your grocery list on them. You can do your to-do list. You can set audible alerts to help you remember. So in a nutshell, technology is just only going to continue to improve, especially in the area of accessibility options. Another area when you think of planning is planning ahead and making a shopping list. It's concrete, I know, but how often do we go to the store and forget half of what we are going there for? When you are planning out your meals for the week, plan and write that shopping list. And this works really well with people, is when they're writing out their shopping list, is to group the items according to how they walk through the store. So, for instance, if you're going to be at the deli section first, group everything you want to get in the deli section. And then if you're in the dry food section, you do the dry foods. This is also true if you choose to shop online. I know navigating some of the online shopping sites can be overwhelming. So if you group your items, you're going to be able to navigate those sites better. Plan to shop during low traffic times as much as you can. You know, if eating well and preparing meals is a priority, schedule it in at a time that you have high energy. Yet, if creating the meal is the most important thing, delegate the shopping to someone else or have it delivered. Another idea is to create 2 lists of goods that you need to get that week, and you have a list of essential items and a list of non-essential items. So if you are in the process of shopping, become very fatigued or don't feel like you can finish up, at least you know the items that you have to get and leave the rest for later. Using a scooter, most stores, as you know, have scooters that you can use. You know, why not focus on getting your items, being efficient, and not focus your energy on your balance or figuring out the store? It can create a lot less stress physically upon you, and you'll find that navigating a store and shopping is more pleasurable. And when you're at checkout, request similar items to be packed together. Keep your bags light. And this process will simplify putting items away at home. One last comment is rest. I'm just going to sneak this in because it's so important and it's proven to really help people manage energy. Usually people seem to have overall most fatigue in the afternoon. Make sure you schedule in 15 to 30 minutes of rest, and it doesn't mean you have to sleep. It means you just are relaxing, because that's going to give you the energy you need for that evening meal or whatever you are going to be doing throughout the evening. And one other comment, when I'm talking about meal planning, I don't necessarily mean a big dinner meal. This could be breakfast, it could be lunch. But if you're going to get the items at the store and you have at home the choice between a whole grain bread or a donut, at least you have that choice. It's going to be just as easy to pull out that bread than that donut. All right. Now
so I'm going to step
to talk.
So Ann, you really had some great ideas there on really getting set and purchasing. And really your purchase power looks at how do you get your kitchen, your refrigerator, your freezer stocked for success. And I have to preface this, I live in an area where we have to put together emergency preparedness kits. I think many of us do for storms or earthquakes or whatever it may be. Think of your refrigerator and your pantry and your freezer as your own everyday emergency preparedness kit. So what are the types of things that you can keep on hand that not only make meals easy, but good nutrition accessible? Remember at the beginning of the call we talked about how fatigue really can cause you to change your eating habits or perhaps even skip meals or grab whatever's at hand. This is about keeping the right things at hand so that you can eat well. So as we look at the pantry, we look at things like pastas and whole grains that are quick and easy to cook. We're looking at tomato sauces or other sauces. I'm a big fan of marinades. I can take frozen chicken breasts or even chicken strips out of the freezer, marinate them, and have a meal in no time really. Your favorite nut butters, beans, canned beans, or peas, things that you can get a great source of fiber, a great source of protein, and can throw in salads or in casseroles or into soups. Great things that are add-ons like that. In the refrigerator, I'm a big fan of buying ready to use. And I challenge you to think about this. It is a challenge because I recognize that some of these products cost more because they're pre-cut and pre-cleaned. Yet they save you energy and save you in the long run in the food preparation side. So if you look at weighing out the consequences, does it mean I eat well and have good nutrition available, or does it mean that I save money? And there's ways you can even do some of these things on your own. So when I talk about buying ready to use, we're looking at things that are pre-cut or pre-cleaned. We're looking at shredded cheeses. Nowadays we don't have to mince garlic or ginger. They come in jars pre-minced, and all we need to do is measure it out and throw it in the dish that we're making. There's now pre-cooked grains like rices and whole grains. Quinoa is a great grain product that's a super source of protein. These things are now easily purchased and microwavable, so you can have it available in minutes. And when knowing you can opt out, quite often you don't have the time or the energy to cook. It's good to know what your neighborhood healthy food options are when you can order in. The other thing is to start your grocery shopping early. Anne also talked about strategies on making your list. I had a woman who used to keep her standard grocery list on her refrigerator. And as she ran out of things in her cupboards, she'd make a check mark on that list so that she didn't have to spend the time or the energy surveying her refrigerator or her freezer or her cupboards. So let's take a look at how we might put our power pantry together. So if we look at it here, we can have chicken strips or chicken tenders in our freezer, and I'm a big fan of lentil soup. Lentil soup's a great source of protein, and you open it up, you put it in a bowl or in a pot, add a couple chicken strips to that, and some fresh spinach. And you add a whole grain roll to that, and you really have a meal in less than 15 minutes. So there's many different ways you can be creative as you look at your pantry. This is part of having a plan and thinking ahead. What do I have at hand that I might be able to use? So here are some other ideas that you might look at in terms of putting your power pantry to work. You can take a whole grain pasta with a canned sauce or some frozen shrimp and a tossed salad, and you have a complete meal. Like I said, I'm a big fan of chicken breast. I have all types of marinades in my cupboard that I could top on top of it, let it sit for 10 minutes as the oven heats up, and then pop it in, and then put couscous or frozen vegetables in the microwave. You can use your freezer for when you can't purchase fresh. And we're lucky in the summertime, fresh produce is so readily available. But in the wintertime, we might be more reliant on frozen vegetables or canned vegetables, and that's okay. I keep them in my cupboards in my freezer for backup when I don't get the chance to get out. So here are some other ideas that you might consider in putting your power pantry to work. So let's take a look at pacing. Anne?
Yeah, I'm hungry. Those are great recipes. Okay, so let's move into the third P, which is, as Denise just said, pacing. Be realistic in what you can complete. Be present in what you are doing too. Really minimize multitasking. It is overrated. And stretch energy levels, and that's what I'm going to be taking a look at with you now. So more specifically, pacing and being realistic. Schedule not only your grocery shopping when you're going to do it at that high energy time, but also your meal preparation. Schedule it in your daily routine. Block out a time, let's say from 10 to 11, you're going to start doing some meal prep in the day if you're home and you can do this. I know that's not something that everyone can do. But the point is do a little bit at a time, or do some work for some meals and then put it in the freezer or the fridge that you can use down the line for other meals. So scheduling it in, it helps you take control of your time as well. Set a timer to help you stay on track as well. And that timer can help you transition to your next activity, and it just helps you overall with time management, because once you get going on an activity, don't you find that the time just goes and, oh my gosh, you become fatigued, or you didn't get to do this, or you're missing your appointment, or you're late for this. Keeping yourself just in certain aspects of time will help manage your energy better. And share the load. Eating really is a social event. It's fellowship. And some people live alone, I know, and others don't. But if you live alone and you can invite a friend, or if you can, with your family, incorporate the family in helping with planning the meal, executing the meal. It should be. It's all healthy to do that way. And sometimes you don't feel like cooking, as Denise was mentioning before. Knowing your options in your neighborhood for healthy takeout, you may even want to supplement and just say, okay, we're going to take out the main course, but I'm going to make a salad to add in. I can do that. That's reasonable. It's doable. So just being open-minded and creative in your approach. Another area of pacing, we can look at how you arrange your kitchen. Is it set up for you to work in the most efficient way as you can? Organization, collecting what you need before you begin saves time and energy. Using tools or adaptive equipment, they compensate for physical and visual challenges, and they make the job easier. Remember, there is always the cleanup. Probably want to minimize this as much as possible. And when you do it, you will stay thankful and happy that you did make that meal. When you're looking at arranging your kitchen, how often do we put things with no rhyme or reason away in our kitchen? And we just get used to that, and it's a habit where we reach and we grab for things. So the first thing I work with people on is take a look at where you have things placed in your kitchen and do some rearranging. Place items most often used within easy reach. It should be within arm's reach up and within an arm's reach down. Prevent overstretching and bending. Keep pots and pans near the stove, dishes near the table, glasses near the sink. Permanently place heavy objects on that countertop, or a really heavy pot and pan that you use most often, just keep it on top of the stove. Use electrical appliances as much as possible, rather than manual ones whenever you can, including food processors, mixers, blenders, and can openers. And someone I saw wrote in that they use a George Foreman grill, and that's a great idea to minimize cooking and what you need and healthy cooking, right? The other point I want to make is to get rid of clutter. If you haven't used something in a year, get rid of it. Or if it's one of those items you use once a year for the holidays, move it off to another farther location. Simplifying your kitchen. When you simplify the clutter, your brain is simplified. It's refreshing, and it decreases mind clutter as well as physical clutter. How often do you open up a cupboard and it's packed, or your pantry with items, and you can't find what you're looking for, and it's right straight in your visual field? So much clutter can make it difficult to decipher, and that goes back to the vision problem with contrast sensitivity. It's hard for people to pick out things. I tell people also for that to line their cupboard space with drawer liner. You can get this wonderful Rubbermaid makes it. It's rubbery, and you can use it as a sticky substance as well. But it comes in all colors, and you can line different interior of your cupboard so you can contrast the color to see things easier, as well as helping you with reaching and grabbing too. Collecting your stuff. We often use in our department a lot of wheeled carts for transporting items. Obviously, you can collect more items at a time. You're saving energy, and it's also saving your balance. Now, on the slide that you see to the right hand, it's hard to make up, but the top picture is a four-wheeled walker. It's got the ones with a seat. Some of you use those seats to sit down and prepare meals, which is great. You can also get trays to fit on there to carry items. Or a regular walker, you can get hard trays or bags. Because my rule of thumb here is if someone needs an assistive device to walk with, you should not try to use an assistive device and carry an object at the same time. Slide objects on the countertop instead of trying to carry them. Sitting to prepare meals. If you can see on this slide that this bench, there are wheels on the bottom of it. So this is a great bench. I had it in one of my departments, and people loved it. Initially, I thought it looked very unsafe, but it is not true. People had a great time, or easy time, I should say, not a great time, but collecting items as well as adjusting the height to sit at a level that's comfortable at the countertop. Now, there's a variety of stools out there. What you want to look for is a stool high enough so when you are at the counter level, your elbows rest at a 90-degree angle and your shoulders are not elevated, your shoulders are relaxed. A stool is nice too because there's an option that you want to sit and stand. Some people may find, though, that pulling out a cutting board is at a better height to do some meal preparation. Other people like just to sit at the kitchen table and sit at a regular chair, use a wheelchair, to do some food preparation. These are techniques that save energy and make the meal preparation more efficient and easier. Another area that you want to look at in meal preparation is the environment of your kitchen. The temperature, putting on an oven can create a lot of heat into that room, and heat's not a good factor with people with MS. Having a fan in there can help. You look at your lighting. Fluorescent light is really stressful on the eyes. Change up the lighting around to make it less stressful on the body. You also want to take a look at what are the distractions. Do you have a lot of distractions that you're trying to deal with? Conversations going on, the phone ringing, so you're interrupting your meal preparation to answer the phone, the TV running. You know, sometimes that these background factors generate more stress on our minds and bodies than we realize. And the other thing, if you're struggling with attending to a task and remembering where you are, the last thing you need to do is answer a phone call or carry on a conversation to distract you from what you're doing. So make sure you're setting up your environment to be within reason to your needs. How challenged are you in preparing food? Denise now will talk and show you tools that can help.
I know there's a number of you that are very concerned about how to handle knives, and knives can be a real issue, especially if people have tingling and numbness or just a lack of or limited mobility in the hands. So there's a number of different things that can help you slice and dice. Some of these things are, as you can see, these are very common items that you can buy in perhaps a specialty food store or online at shopping stores like cooking.com. But there are rocking knives. Some of these are called mezzalunas, which are half moons. And I love these because you don't have to worry about finely chopping. You just rock it back and forth and turn your wrist as it goes around, and it does all the chopping for you. The mandolin is another great option for slicing. You know, you don't have to worry about holding the food item like the pepper or the tomato or the onion. You can put this, and you can see there's a nice little guard right here for your fingertips that don't necessarily allow them to get cut there. You know, I'm surprised at the way you can use an egg slicer. An egg slicer can be used for slicing strawberries, for slicing mushrooms, as well as for slicing eggs. The food chopper is no surprise. I'm sure many of you have seen these kind of items in Pampered Chef and other things. You can find mini food processors that can help in slicing and dicing as well. There's some great tools out there that are common and everyday in the markets or stores. And then you'll see there are some specialty items that are more adaptive equipment. There's cutting boards, Swedish cutting boards that actually have things that hold the produce in place. You know, you can see right here there's like a little clamp that holds the zucchini or cucumber. This one has, you can see right over here, there's like a little nail that holds the tomato in place. For those of you who really don't have a good grip, you know, these kinds of things right here with the little expanded grip allows you to grab and hold it more comfortably. And knife accidents, with or without MS, are very common in the kitchen. And I love this tool here. It's a mesh glove. It's a steel mesh glove. And especially if you don't have any or limited feeling in your fingertips, this is a great piece of protection when you're slicing. There's some other specialty tools that I think Ann will share as well.
Yeah. I love that steel glove that you just talked about. That's a fabulous idea. I mentioned earlier to use electrical appliances as much as you can, and I'm going to try to do those arrows like Denise just did, but I'm not doing quite well with that, am I? So the first one up there, it says open up cordless, and that is an electrical device that you stick to open up any sort of container except for a can. Cans, you just use, you know, you can get electrical openers anywhere. It doesn't need to be a specialty store. The Zim jar opener is something that you can tuck underneath a countertop. It flips down and flips up, and it can open up ketchup top as well as up to a peanut butter jar open. So there's all different sizes that you can use. Easy Twist gives you better leverage, and you can use larger muscle groups to compensate for the smaller muscle groups that may be weaker. I mentioned earlier Dicem. You see this last corner. Dicem is a sticky substance, and I'm sure a lot of you already know about it and use it. You can find so many uses for Dicem. Some people like to put them on their seat to help them if they, of course, sitting control. They put it under their cushion in a wheelchair. You put it under a bowl to help cure and give you extra strength while you're stirring something up. You can find any use for it wherever you are, whatever you're doing. But this collects lint and it loses its stickiness. And another item that I use more often is going back to those drawer liners I was talking to you about. Rubbermaid makes them. It's in any store, and they function the same way as this Dyson does. Other real simple, low-cost techniques are rubber bands placed around jars to help you with gripping, rubber gloves to help you open up containers, as well as help you with gripping and holding on to items. If you don't have sensory impairment, that wouldn't be the best idea. But I didn't mean to, I'm going to go back for a quick second here, Denise. What I do want to conclude in saying is, you know, there really is a device that enables people to be independent with most any activity. You can find these in regular stores. You don't need specialty stores to get all of these. When Denise was talking about the enlarged grip, Good Grip is a brand that you can get at Target, at Walmart, and it's enlarged grip. Also, going on the internet and Googling adaptive equipment for cooking, a wealth of information will come up. Purchasing stools. You can even go to Home Depot and get some really good stools. Or office supply stores, because those help you higher and lower, and you get the option of the wheels on the bottom or not. And also just keep in mind, if you're finding like you want to know more about adaptive equipment, talk to your doctor or your nurse practitioner, and you can get a referral to therapy and have a session or two that goes specifically into your areas of need. Try some things out, and then your local therapist will tell you where you can purchase these items where you live. All right, well, thanks. And now Denise will talk about the fourth P, packing it up.
Thanks, Ann. This really gets down to the point where when you do have the energy to cook, you know, certainly take advantage of that. You know, double up and really make it worth your while. I love nowadays that there are so many great containers that you can take and prepare your meal. You can store it, cover it, freeze it, take it back out, pop it in the microwave, serve from it. It just has made meal preparation so much easier, and especially cleanup too. And I'm also a big fan when you double up to do a leftover makeover. And that means, you know, taking advantage of you know, when you do cook. I live just with my husband, and so there's just the two of us. So, and for those of you who are solo cookers as well, some of these things might apply. You know, whether you decide to cook a rotisserie chicken or pick one up at the store or that large box store, you can eat the chicken for dinner, but then you can remake it. Give it a new makeover in things like a tostada salad or a 7-layer salad. You know, and these are why, you know, when you have your other things available, what you can make out of it. I'm a big fan of salmon. Salmon's a great source of omega-3 fatty acids, which are particularly healthy and have great benefits for brain function. They're mildly anti-inflammatory, all the great reasons to cook salmon. And in stores like Costco, you can get them really reasonably. I plank mine on a barbecue, and then I put it in things like a salmon pesto pasta, or I'll put it on top of a salad. It's a great, I'm sure if you let your creative juices go, you can think of many different ways to reinvent meals. So cleanup's important, Ann. How do we make it easy?
Oh yeah, to clean up, people's favorite part of the meal preparation. Again, remember what your priorities are. And if creating a new recipe, healthier eating, having fellowship, focus your energies in these areas and give into disposable plates. Or use aluminum foil to line your pans. So the cleanup, you just ball that up and throw that away, and you don't have to soak or scrub or get any of the residue off the pan. Or just if you do have pans that you need to, or even your dishes, if you're just too tired, fill the sink with soap. We'll put your dishes in there and let them soak overnight, and do them the next day when you have energy. So it's being able to let go of some of your expectations, being able to stop something at any given moment if you needed, and be able to pick it up when you're ready to. And it's just making some sacrifices, or again, thinking about where your priorities are and putting more of the energy there and letting go of others. Another thing I've had a person do, that their dishwasher, they eliminate putting items away. They clean items in the dishwasher, they take them out, use them, just put them directly back in the dishwasher. So eliminating that step of putting things away, in and out of the dishwasher, and that's it.
So when all else fails, I don't know about you, but when I grew up, my mom said, don't snack, it'll ruin your appetite. And you know what? Long gone are the days of 3 basic meals a day. And I think even for those of you living with MS, being a savvy snacker and eating more frequently throughout the day can actually be a better way of managing energy, getting the nutrients that you need, and a much easier way in managing meals. So things about snacks is snacks can help keep your energy high. If you're trying to control your weight, it's a great way to fight off hunger. Eating more frequently throughout the day, perhaps every couple, 2 or 3 hours. It also helps you eat less at meal times. And I'll give you a little bit of a recipe for what makes a good snack. But snacking also can help with concentration and maintaining concentration, which can be a challenge for individuals with MS as well. So the key to successful snacking is keeping snacks on hand. So if you're going out and traveling for the day, I keep snacks in my car. I live in a large metropolitan area, and no doubt there's a lot of time that's spent on the road. So I'll keep a trail mix. I'll keep nuts. I'll keep a variety of different things on hand so that I'm not without food. A good snack combines a little bit of protein with a little bit of carbohydrate and even a little bit of fat. And they're about 200 to 300 calories. So you might want to think of them as a mini meal. So here's some great examples for snacks. Apple slices dipped in your favorite nut butter, peanut butter, almond butter, fresh fruit, especially at this time of season, pears. Pick a fruit and dip it. Sliced turkey, you could roll it over red bell pepper. You can add grapes to it. Fat-free cottage cheese or ricotta cheeses with vegetables are another great way to go. I find that a really great resource for snacks. I do a lot of online searching for things. Anne's recommendation for recipe ideas by inserting an ingredient in any recipe type of websites is great. I find websites like Real Simple, Cooking Light, they have some great snack ideas. Do check them out. They've been a wonderful resource for me, and I've passed them on to folks like you to help make eating easy. So we covered a lot this evening, and hopefully there have been some great ideas here that you find that you might be able to take away and put into place. So here's the question. What changes do you think you'll make to make easy eating and eating well much more easier for you? So here are some of the things we went through tonight. Let us know your thoughts on this one.
Great. It looks like people are taking away a lot of information.
Wow.
It's great. It doesn't seem to be any one thing that, there's a few that are popping up here now.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to give this a minute just to see.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I see coming up is around the snacking, and we didn't spend a lot of time on that, but it really can be great. I like the snacking piece of it especially because it helps to fill in your diet where you might not have the energy or the wherewithal to have it all at one meal. It's kind of hard to eat your fruits and vegetables all at one time for many people. It takes the average American, it takes much more diligence, and snacks are a great and sneaky way to build it in. So let's see what we have here. Mm-hmm. Healthy snacking and planning ahead, Anne.
Yeah. But it's true. Everyone probably can take away something from each area. And I've loved looking at people's input and what they do and use. I've been writing those down as well, because that's where we really learn from one another, is what works for someone and sharing that. So we really appreciate your comments with that. So thank you very much. Because as you know, living with MS is truly about finding options. The Can Do Center is named Can Do because we help people focus on what you can take control of and letting go of what you can't. Being open to different options and being creative in doing that. Even if you don't feel you're creative, you find out you quickly are, don't you? The most important point is to keep simple, realistic, and start small when you are wanting to change your eating patterns, as well as trying to get in the kitchen more and doing meal preparation. If you haven't done any meals at all, if this is truly a new frontier and you're starting all over, make 1 to 2 changes. And if you have been cooking and doing some meals, incorporate 2 to 3. Don't do too much, because then you feel like, oh, it gets to be too much, and then it kind of can fall apart. But change is constantly happening to everyone at all times, right? And usually we change because we have inspiration or desperation. So you want to find out what is your motivating force and lean into it. Use that creativity and take it as a positive challenge. Being flexible. Changing the process. You may start finding that, the biggest thing, for example, are people who have a change in balance and let's say have a hard time walking, but they don't want to use a walker. But they realize in using a walker, they now save energy and don't worry about their balance and can do a lot more. So taking the concept, too, of maybe changing the process, but the end result will always be the same. The end result, what we're hoping for you to reach, is to feel better with more energy and greater confidence. So thank you for attending this with us. And at this point, I think, Mel, you're going to jump in and we can take some questions.
Absolutely, and we've been getting some great questions and comments, and people have been sharing tips this evening, so it's fun to see all the chatter in the chat box. Just going back really quickly to the adaptive tools. So are a lot of those tools available in places such as Walmart or Bed Bath & Beyond? I know you had said they can be found in common stores. I think people just kind of wanted to get some ideas of where.
Sure. So I did see some questions about like a rocker knife or the adaptive cutting board with a suction cup. And I can tell you specifically there is a website of adaptive equipment called North Coast. I like this one because I think the pictures are really clear and good. And North Coast you can order online. So again, it's North and then Coast, Coast. That is one example of really a handful, well, more than that, of specific adaptive equipment catalogs. So depending on where you live, any medical supply store will have these items. Any hospital that has rehabilitation will have these items. So you can Google up, again, you can Google in adaptive equipment catalogs or online stores, maybe it's a better word, or low vision aids, and you'll get more specifics that you can order online, or locally you can look into medical supply stores.
And I'm a fan. I was going to say I'm a fan of. I find things right in the main stores. I think in Bed Bath and Beyond, and I've seen in department stores as well. The brand OXO, OXO, Good Grips. They tend to have mainstream cooking equipment like potato peelers and mashers and ice cream scoops and things like that that have those large grips. So you can find things like that. Bed Bath & Beyond also has things like those choppers. You can find the Mezzalunas or the rocking knives there. While some things like some of those special like the Swedish cutting board and such are more available through the types of resources that Anne shared, you can find these other things in a store like Bed Bath & Beyond.
Great, thank you so much. Do you have ideas for sites or a site that would list some meals or recipes, maybe just to give some guidance on that?
Yeah, I'm a dietitian because I really just like to eat and I love to cook. So I'm a big fan of looking for new things and simple things online. And some of the resources that Anne gave when you were looking at using technology can really be a tool for you. Cooking Light online has some great resources. I mentioned Real Simple as well. You can just go into a web search and type in quick and easy recipes or healthy meals in 10 minutes. And you'll be surprised at what comes up. And then when you get to those websites, as Anne mentioned, type in an ingredient that you're working with, chicken or quinoa. Someone asked, quinoa is spelled Q-U-I-O-N-A, I believe, N-O-A. Oh gosh, I can't spell out loud. I have to type it. So
I think you're right.
Q-U-I-N-O-A. There we go. And it gives you ideas on if it's something you've never worked with before, or you're trying to put more grains in your diet. It's a great way to try to figure it out by looking at recipes and looking at ingredients that might appeal to you. And then looking to see, is it too much work, or I can do this. So those are some of my favorite websites.
Yeah, and there was a mention too of that mesh glove, and that can be found also at just kitchen specialty stores. Have you seen that, like Denise, at a Walmart or Target?
I don't know if I've seen them at those stores, but I've found them, and they're very easy to find online too. Sometimes just getting out to the stores when we're talking about saving energy, I'm a big fan of online shopping. And I use grocery delivery services, for instance, when I'm maybe traveling and I come back home and I don't have the time, or coming back to an empty house. I'll arrange to have my groceries delivered the night I arrive back home so that I'm not without food for that week. And I had a person whose mom did that for her when she had an exacerbation or flare-up. You could have your list already prepared online and push the button if you have that kind of services in your area.
Great, thank you so much. Another question that I have is, this goes to snacks. We have a gentleman who says that when he snacks, it's things like nuts and dark chocolate, and is wanting some ideas for good snacks, or could those possibly also be good snacks?
Well, I can also rationalize most anything you can eat, but if you're going to have chocolate, chocolate can be a healthy thing on a daily basis. One piece of chocolate, like a small little dove. The darker the chocolate, the more healthful. Dark chocolate's rich in antioxidants, and antioxidants, things like that, are found in your brightly colored fruits and vegetables as well. They act as scavengers of free radicals and may actually be beneficial in the free radicals that can take place as a result of MS and the disease process. So when you start thinking about snacks and healthy snack ideas, look for brightly colored fruits and vegetables, your blueberries, your strawberries, oranges, vitamin C, orange, yellow, green, blue. These are all great sources of antioxidants. If you choose lower fat cheeses, like a non-fat cottage cheese or ricotta cheese, I'm also a big fan of Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is also, and especially in a non-fat variety, super creamy. It's not as loose as regular non-fat yogurt. And if you buy a plain version, you're not getting all that extra sugar as well. So, grains are great. Looking at things like pretzel sticks if you're so inclined. A variety of nuts and seeds. You can make your own granola. You don't have to buy snack packs. You can make your own snack packs. And I just use little Ziploc bags and package things up that I grab and pop into my lunch each day. So be creative. And again, those websites can be great resources for you.
Great. Another question that I have here is tracking diets and progress. Is there a tool or a site that you all could recommend to help those with MS with tracking their daily diets?
I don't have a resource myself on that, and maybe that's something we can look into and get back on. I'd have to do some research on that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds like we got a stumper there. A good question, but yeah, I think maybe just a little looking into. Denise,
yeah, because there's one out there, but I'm not familiar with one either.
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
we have some of our participants saying to track calories, fitday.com. Thanks, Adriana. And someone recommended sparkpeople.com. King.com is a membership to help track. Obviously, some of you have these. Calorie count at about.com.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
this is.
Wow.
Well, maybe we can compile this list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you guys all have the greatest ideas for tools.
See, I know. You could be doing this.
Yeah,
There's
probably.
definitely a lot of, if you have an iPad or a mobile phone, a smartphone, there are a lot of apps that do this kind of tracking. So you just have to find out which ones work for you.
Sure. And Denise, I know you answered this individual directly, but I had a couple of people asking about when the spouse is relying on fast food, or maybe it's someone who's meat and potatoes, and just sort of addressing incorporating some healthy dinner nights or healthy meals into the process.
So yeah, I think it's always a challenge when there's kids that eat differently, or when there's a spouse that eats differently. I've heard many people say, how can I eat healthy when everybody else around me doesn't? And part of it is possibly engaging everyone as part of the process. The types, the way that a person that's living with MS needs to eat is really no different from a health perspective than the rest of the general population. So it has benefits for everybody to pay attention and make good choices. And you know what? You might be that role model in helping your family take the first steps. Maybe it's a conversation about trying new things together and making decisions around, wow, let's give this a try. What will we want to try first? And so maybe starting to wean off the reliance on fast foods or higher fat foods. I had a woman I shared with one of the participants that was in one of my recent Jumpstart programs who said that she tried a recipe and she used Greek yogurt, but she didn't tell her husband it was Greek yogurt. He thought it was sour cream. And then at the end, when she found out if he liked it or not, he did, and she was able to say, well, okay, you tried something different. Wasn't it good? So there's ways that you can take baby steps to success. With kids, I always encourage just getting them involved in the cooking process, especially if it's younger kids, and make that a part of the meal preparation and the food choices. You'll be surprised, I think, what they may try. So those are just some ideas, I think, to get the family involved. But you know what? When all else fails, you're responsible for yourself, and your snacking may be your way to make sure that you round out your diet to get just what you need to keep your energy levels high.
Great. I appreciate it. I think we can get in one or two more. Someone just asked about leftovers. How long would you suggest an average time keeping leftovers before they spoil? And this person's asking about casseroles and maybe things cooked with vegetables from scratch.
Yeah, I think food safety is always a big issue. So if they don't hang out too long after the meal, the key is to get them from the time that you eat them back into the refrigerator as quickly as possible. I might say a couple days, especially if you package them well and keep them in airtight containers. It really does depend if you add things like dairy to it or vulnerable meats. Like I think sometimes seafood's a little bit more vulnerable than perhaps leftover chicken. If you think that you're not going to use it, casseroles are great. You can freeze them and reheat too. It's a perfect, when I make a chili, I'll make a big old pot of it and then put them in portion sizes that are the right size for me to either take for lunch or to have as a meal with my husband. So,
perfect. Thank you. I think one last. I had a few people ask about being in the kitchen and just getting things from the hot stove to the counter or to the table. One person specifically asked about like boiling pasta and just saying that that's sort of usually a scary situation for her because she's afraid of spilling it and burning herself. Is there any adaptive suggestions for those situations?
Yeah, well, first of all, putting on oven mitts would be a good idea when you're handling the pot. I mean, they're hot. You probably do anyways, but always put on oven mitts when you're around the stove if you're concerned about dropping them, just for your sure safety. And then I mentioned earlier sliding objects on the countertop. And if you have something, I'm thinking of like my mind's blank of the name, but just if you put something to put a hot casserole dish on, a hot pad is what I'm talking about, and then sliding that big pasta container quart over near the sink, and then just using the leverage of resting on the countertop to pour into a strainer. There are strainers too that you can get, again, and this would be through a just cooking supply, kitchen specialty store, that you can get strainers that attach onto the pan and flip over to rinse out, to simplify. So you don't need a special device for that, but just browse through an online store, a cooking supply store, to see if you can find that.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Ann and Denise, for tonight's presentation. And I just want to also, again, thank all the participants who joined us this evening and all of your questions and suggestions and tips that you gave. And before I share the topic for our next webinar, I'd like to share information on Can Do Day, which is going to be Saturday, September 22nd. And this special day is in honor of our founder, Jimmy Huga. That was actually his birthday. And we're just asking that you please visit our Facebook page and make a pledge to do something you can do to honor our founder, Jimmy, and his can-do philosophy, all right, while raising awareness for MS. So we just wanted to share that with you, a very special day for us. And here's the next webinar topic. This will be on October the 9th at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the topic is Yoga and MS. And our special presenter that evening will be Victoria Schweitzer. She is a physical therapist. So please join us for that one. Join us live from the convenience of your home or office, again at no charge, for an in-depth discussion on topics relating to exercise, nutrition, communication, symptom management, and total health. This unique webinar series provides insight from more than one MS expert so you can gain additional knowledge relating to multiple sclerosis. So please interact with our team of Can-Do MS consultants, ask your questions, and learn how to adopt healthy lifestyle behaviors, actively co-manage your MS, and live your best life. You can register for this and other webinars at mscando.org. And for those who participated live tonight, once the presentation is over, you will see a survey appear on your computer screen. Please take a moment to complete the survey and help us continue to improve our webinars. We value your feedback and input, and you will also receive a copy of tonight's webinar slides by email. So thank you so much again, and have a great night.